issues we're having in Australia at the moment is around our ability to resource and staff appropriately. And I'm not kidding when I say these roles are really difficult to fill. They are really, really hard to fill. Not just about going, okay, we're going offshore and we're going to get cheap labor. It's not how that's not how you work. And you want to make sure that you're still ethically approaching that process. The company that I work for is an NDIS company. So we primarily support people in Australia who are living with disabilities or require further support in their daily living needs. Essentially, anyone who has approved funding under our NDIS, so National Disability Insurance Scheme, are able to come to us as a provider and ask us whether we can provide their support and use their funding to do so. So that can be anything from therapy support, so exercise physiology, physiotherapy, allied health in general, behaviour support, or daily living support needs for members of the community. The issues we're having in Australia at the moment is around our ability to resource and staff appropriately. We're looking at ways that we can try and source appropriate people for the roles with the skills and expertise in different ways and be a bit inventive and agile about how we approach our recruitment process. One of those was looking outside of Australia, so whether that was sponsorships and looking at bringing people in from outside Australia and providing with the opportunity to work in Australia, or outsourcing through a different model where we can still obtain the same expertise but do it through places like PeoplePartners, where we know that the employees are still being looked after and still being well managed. We don't have to worry about paying leave entitlements or any other overheads, but because we primarily work from home and work remotely, we have the ability to engage providers outside of Australia and still give them access to our IT systems and have that relationship that we still have, but we don't necessarily need to have it on site, I guess, or in Australia. So originally PeoplePartners came through my manager, so we decided to give it a go. We've never used an external provider before in that sense, so someone from overseas and engaging with different, I guess, business needs. We tried to look at what could we do from overseas that was most effective and efficient. One of those was recruitment. The other one was marketing, because they're very easy to navigate online. So we tried out one particular role first to see how good that would be and how that would fit in a business, if it was fit for purpose and if it was something that we could utilize long term, and then moved into a marketing role, which is going really well as well. So some of our business it doesn't work for because we've got support coordinators and people on the ground who we can't really engage in overseas support for, but definitely those corporate services roles seem to fit really well. So a lot of our roles, because they're so hands-on, we haven't been able to outsource for, but for those corporate services roles, what they've been able to do is bring an expertise that's exactly the same as what we would be able to find in Australia, and potentially even better, and adapt it. So our two PeoplePartners employees, who are very much part of the team and integrated into the team, they are able to understand the Australian environment, understand what we need in terms of our recruitment and marketing needs, and they able to research it so that they can target their role and achieve the KPIs that we set them out to achieve. So there's no difference between working in the Philippines compared to even working in Australia. They do the same job. So it really doesn't matter which location they do it from. They still add that value and they still meet their KPIs and their targets and objectives of their job. We're going to try and achieve over the next 6 to 12 months. And the feedback that they gave us about the support that HR has been able to provide them to find the right staff to fill these roles. And I'm not kidding when I say these roles are really difficult to fill. They are really, really hard to fill. We can't find staff in locations that we need them to be. You know, the work that Kyle has done to support everyone through that. And little things, we're still doing continual improvement. He's emailing all the managers on a Friday now with an update on where their one particular recruitment process is up to. And that's a really important part of it too. And he's so open to feedback. So he's implementing all these little changes, and the leadership team are loving it. So yeah, no, it's really great feedback for him. So I think from my perspective, I've had a recruitment coordinator supporting me in my role, and that's been really critical because my job has exponentially increased in workload over the past 12 to 18 months. So as a business, since I started almost 2 years ago now, we've increased from a company of about 65 people to now having over 100 staff. So that workload in itself increased dramatically. Having our recruitment coordinator come on board has been a godsend. He's absolutely amazing. He knows how to communicate really well. He's very effective at his job. He asks the right questions and he delivers on what he promises. And that's been a really critical part for our business because we are quite a fast-moving company and we like to be agile with the environment, and he's able to do that with no questions asked. He's always available. He's always telling me when he's here and when he's not and what's happening in his workload. So that's just one example of how much of an impact that these really intelligent people are able to provide our company, even if they're not living in Australia. From my perspective as a HR manager, it has been a really great experience to go through PeoplePartners because it's quite daunting when you haven't used an offshore provider before to navigate that process and know that you're also adhering to things like modern slavery laws and making sure that you're still paying people the right amount of money, because it's not just about going, okay, we're going offshore and we're going to get cheap labor. It's not how that's not how you work. And you want to make sure that you're still ethically approaching that process. And PeoplePartners are great in that respect because we're able to still have ethical decision making and make sure that we're still protecting and supporting the candidate and the employee on the other end, but we're also getting a value for money in terms of the expertise that they're providing the company, which is always that two-way relationship that you need anyway from no matter where you employ someone. But I think it makes that ethical decision making makes it really important for me as a HR manager to know that I'm not going to be taking advantage of anyone, but also that I have a reasonableness test with PeoplePartners to go, actually, this person gets paid a little bit more, gets paid a little bit less, but it's still on par with what you would pay someone in Australia. And that two-way communication with PeoplePartners is also fantastic because you always know that they're there to ask questions. So give it a chance, just the opportunity to try, and then you'll find that all of a sudden you'll be adding one more and two more employees, and you'll see the benefit that it has on the company.